Hey, good morning, folks, and welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. Thursday, December the 4th. And yes, it's still snowing. It's going to be the same. I think I will quit with the weather stuff because it'll be like this until April. Anyways, very pretty, very winter wonderlandish. To boxing. Yesterday, I made a video where I was critical of the WBC. I was especially critical of the fact that by ordering Moses Atoma and Lawrence Okoli to fight a final eliminator to be the mandatory for the next crack at the WBC title, they've skipped over Agit Kabayel. I simply can't understand that. Kabayel is the interim champion. He should be next in line to challenge Alexander Usyk or whoever happens to be the unified champion. But unless there's a piece of information out there which has not been made public, it really looks like Agit Kabayel has, not to put too fine a point on it, been shafted. As one of the subscribers on yesterday's video said, he really needs to look at changing his manager. He's got Spencer Brown as his manager. From what I've seen, Spencer Brown hasn't done the square root of FA for him. Anyways, and I was also critical of the fact that the WBC has apparently, from the word of Mauricio Suleiman, just decreed that Deontay Wilder is rated 8th or 9th, his words, when in fact Deontay Wilder appears nowhere in the published top 10 of the WBC rankings. Now, they did this so that Usyk can defend against Deontay Wilder in a voluntary title defense. I don't dislike the Usyk-Deontay Wilder fight from the business perspective. You know, the fact that it's a money fight, and I don't. But I have a problem with it being a title fight because I don't think Deontay deserves it. I understand Usyk's point of view. You know, he's slaying the last head of the three-headed dragon that ran boxing for a while, heavyweight boxing. But yeah, the WBC is doing odd things. And they've continued to do odd things. So this is, if you like, part 2 of yesterday's rant. They've ordered Ben Whittaker and Joshua Buatsi to fight. Final eliminator to be mandatory for the light heavyweight world championship. Now, they've rated these guys as, I think it's 3 and 4. Might be 2 and 3. 3 and 4, I think. And I'm wondering, like, again, how do they pick these numbers? I mean, Buatsi is 21-0, you know, maybe not actually achieved his full potential, but I could sort of see, you know, Buatsi's name. But Ben Whittaker, I mean, he had a spectacular knockout this past weekend against somebody whose name I've immediately forgotten. And without Googling it, I suspect that many people watching have immediately forgotten. The names on Ben Whittaker's resume, the only one that honestly means anything is Liam Cameron. And is he British level? Let's be generous, British level. So I'm not sure why Ben Whittaker deserves to be in a final eliminator for a shot at a world title fight, apparently against David Benavidez, though Benavidez is supposedly going to cruiserweight, so he'll go from 175 to 200. That's easy enough to do. Well, I can gain 25 pounds in a week. It's going back down is the problem, as Roy Jones Jr. found out, right? It's always going down is the problem. But, you know, if Whittaker is to fight Buatsi without this sort of carrots of a world title shot being on the line, you'd say, oh, fair enough, you know, whatever. the young rising star against a not exactly faded, but a more experienced, established sort of fighter, be like, yeah, okay. Like, it's not a bad fight on its own. My issue is that it's a final eliminator to take on David Benavidez. If Benavidez is still there. I mean, it could be Beterbiev or Bivol or somebody. And I'm wondering, I am not a big fan of Ben Whittaker, okay? I do not like Ben Whittaker's style. I'm not a fan. But I'm wondering, the fact that I don't like him shouldn't really change my views about the fact that, isn't this too soon? Let's say, for argument's sake, he gets through Buatsi. Well, and he's in that big league, isn't he? And looking at his record, is he ready for big league? I mean, some people would say yes. If you're a big Ben Whittaker fan, you'd say yes. And people would point out and say, well, look, over the years, there have been lots of fighters who've got even fewer fights under their belts, and they were propelled into the big leagues, and they succeeded. Leon Spinks comes to mind. I think it was his 8th professional fight when he fought Muhammad Ali. Though I would also counterpoint to say, sure, he won that fight, but what did he do afterwards? Anyhow, so I just think it's a bit too soon for Ben Whittaker to be mixing in that level. His record is 10-0-1. He's not lost. He had a draw with Liam Cameron, the flip over the top rope. He rectified that with a very comprehensive win, second time round against Cameron. But who has he fought? Like Craig Richards, Lyndon Arthur, they come to mind as two Brits who he should, get in the ring with. That would be two good fights, really establish himself a bit more. I just think it seems too soon. Will he get through Buatsi if they fight? Will they be ordered to fight? It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you. I think Buatsi is a bit of a faded, a bit faded. But, I don't have an issue with the fight itself. I have an issue with it being a final eliminator for a world title. And as for stepping in the ring with David Benavidez, ask yourself this: how would Ben Whittaker do against Anthony Yarde? And I'll leave, right? In further WBC news, this is picking on the WBC, I was really amused to see Terrance Crawford's response to being stripped, because WBC has stripped Terrance Crawford of his belt. Did they strip him because he ducked somebody? Did they strip him because he was in some way a bad champion? No, they stripped him because he wasn't prepared to pay them money. And his response, which I should read in its entirety, I wouldn't want to misquote Terrance Crawford. I won't attempt to do an accent. That would be disrespectful, and I'm not good at accents. But anyhow, Terrance Crawford said, in response to being stripped by the WBC of his belt, "I ain't paying your ass shit. What the fuck you talking about? Pay you $300,000? What makes you so motherfuckers fucking better than any other sanctioning bodies? You can take the fucking belt. It's a trophy anyway. Why should I have to pay to carry your belt? You should be paying me." I gotta say, very little I disagree with. In fact, none of that do I disagree with. I mean, one could sort of, be picayune about grammar, but still, he's telling it like he sees it. And when I first read this, I thought, yeah, absolutely. Like, these greedy guys are just basically shaking you down. And if you're not the number one pound for pound in the world, you're sure as darn close. And, a multi-weight world champion, and you've just beaten Canelo. Yeah, just tell Silliman where he can shove it. And so yes, there we are. Let me know. Do you agree with Terrance Crawford? Or do you think Terrance Crawford should have ponied up the cash for the privilege of carrying the WBC belt? Let me know. Let me know also what you think about Ben Whittaker, the surgeon, and Joshua Buatsi. Will they fight? How would they do? Is it too soon for Ben Whittaker? And that's my point. It's too soon, because once you go to that world level, it's hard to go back down. But let me know what you think. Your mileage may vary on this. Thank you very much to those who've recently subscribed. Great to have you on board. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please do me a solid and hit the subscribe button. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.